Before it was a brand, it was a sound. That subtle pop, the release of air, the sealing of freshness, echoed through post-war kitchens like a promise. It wasn't just about leftovers, it was about control, cleanliness, modernity, and it all began with a chemist who hated crumbs and craved perfection. Welcome back to Inventing America, the podcast that uncovers the forgotten minds behind the tools, technologies, and systems that shape our world. Today, we open the lid, literally and figuratively, on Earl Tupper. He turned wartime plastic into the symbol of a spotless kitchen and helped define the sleek, sealed confidence of mid-century American life. This is the plastic sealer. Earl Silas Tupper was born in 1907 in rural Berlin, New Hampshire, into the hardscrabble life of a farm family. He grew up among chickens, hand tools, and the rhythms of New England soil. His parents ran a struggling farm, and young Earl learned early that hard work and invention were often the only way forward. Even as a boy, Tupper was known for his wild ideas. He fashioned a homemade comb cleaner, a fish-powered boat concept, and a device for cutting hair more efficiently. These weren't just boyhood whims, they were his entry into a mindset of practical problem-solving. He saw invention as the path to independence. By the late 1920s, he was running his own landscaping business in Massachusetts and dabbling in inventions on the side. But the Great Depression crushed his clientele and pushed him toward something bigger: chemistry. In 1937, Tupper landed a job at DuPont, just as America was retooling its industries for a world on the brink of war. There, he came into contact with a material called polyethylene, a plastic first synthesized in the UK in 1933, and later classified as a military material due to its use in radar insulation during World War II. Polyethylene was cheap, tough, and nearly impervious to moisture. But it was also inconsistent, full of impurities and difficult to shape. DuPont dismissed it for consumer goods. Tupper didn't. Working from a rented workshop in Leominster, Massachusetts, the plastics capital of the world, Tupper began experimenting with discarded slabs of polyethylene. He developed a proprietary purification process that filtered out contaminants, resulting in a translucent, resilient plastic he called poly-T. Unlike brittle bakelite, poly-T was flexible yet sturdy, odor-resistant, non-toxic, and, crucially, airtight. Tupper realized this material could revolutionize storage. But function wasn't enough. He also brought a designer's eye. His containers were molded with rounded edges, smooth surfaces, and pastel hues. He was inspired by the clean lines of Streamline Moderne and the principles of industrial design promoted by Raymond Loewy. His engineering breakthrough came in the form of the seal, a flexible lid inspired by how paint cans snap shut, but re-engineered for daily use. He called it the Tupper seal and demonstrated it by holding a container upside down over his head. The lid made a burp when pressed, an audible seal that reassured users their food was safe. But despite its genius, few people understood what to do with it. Early store sales flopped. Consumers were unfamiliar with the idea of plastic containers replacing glass, and the concept of airtight storage wasn't yet part of American kitchen culture. Tupper had built a tool ahead of its time. What he needed was a teacher. That teacher arrived in the form of Brownie Wise, a single mother and former saleswoman with a flair for persuasion. In 1948, Wise began selling Tupperware through a home demonstration format. She didn't just pitch containers, she dramatized their capabilities. She popped the lids, dropped them, froze them, and let guests test them themselves. The Tupperware Party was born. Wise joined Tupper's company officially in 1951 and soon became vice president of sales. Under her guidance, Tupperware abandoned traditional retail entirely. Instead, It embraced a form of direct sales that gave suburban women a way to earn income, network, and build their own businesses, without leaving home. The model tapped into post-war gender roles and consumer culture, but it also subverted them. For many women, Tupperware parties were their first taste of financial independence and leadership. Sales exploded. By 1954, Tupperware was a multi-million-dollar empire. The company held lavish conventions in Florida, with award ceremonies, motivational speeches, and luxury gifts, including mink coats and pink Cadillacs. Tupper may have invented the product, but Wise invented the culture. And that made him nervous. Earl Tupper was famously meticulous. He wrote pages of memos about company policy, visual branding, and the correct way to demonstrate a lid. He believed science, not salesmanship, was the foundation of success. So when Wise's fame began to eclipse his own, appearing on magazine covers and celebrated as a feminist icon, Tupper bristled. In 1958, in a stunning move, he fired Brownie Wise. Her contributions were erased from company literature. The official story became, Tupperware succeeded because of its genius inventor. Within months, Tupper sold the company to Rexall Drug for $16 million. He renounced his U.S. citizenship, moved to Costa Rica, and later settled in Belize. Some say he fled to avoid taxes. Others believe he simply wanted privacy. He never granted interviews about the company again. He lived the rest of his life quietly, writing philosophical essays, sketching new inventions, and distancing himself from the brand he created. When he died in 1983, there was no grand tribute, no kitchen tributes, just a sealed chapter in innovation history. Today, Tupperware is used generically to describe any food container, a testament to how deeply Earl Tupper's vision permeated everyday life. His creation helped define the mid-century American kitchen, organized, efficient, and modern. But his legacy is more than plastic. It's about transformation, turning war into peace, waste into value, silence into community. And it's a story shared, not just by the inventor, but by the women who showed the world how to use what he made. Each click of the lid still echoes with their combined ingenuity. Thanks for listening to Inventing America. If you believe good ideas deserve fresh air, subscribe and leave a review. It keeps the conversation sealed and secure. Next time, we dive deep, quite literally, into the story of a 19th century woman whose invention helped the Navy see beneath the waves. Join us once more for The Eye Beneath the Waves.